I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm thrilled to be talking about the Peacock series Teacup with actors Chaske Spencer and Rob Morgan. And Chaske, I wanted to start with a question for you. I was really interested in the conversations that you had with Ian McCulloch, who's the creator and showrunner of the series early on, because I've heard that you had conversations with him when you were being pitched the character originally. And I was curious how even once you started filming scenes as Ruben throughout the series, how those early conversations helped to fill in a lot of the gaps and flesh him out for you.
Oh, that was the foundation of the character of Ruben, and for me, playing that character was kind of difficult because he's so internal that sometimes between takes, or I'd have to ask the director how much to give, what to take, and they were really good about telling me what to put on and keep things internal. So my performance, as much as it's me, I have to give a lot of credit to the directors and Ian for help guiding me, because by nature I'm not like that. So I have to keep it in.
On the opposite side for you, Rob, I mean, your character has kind of gone through more and knows and has seen a lot more than the other characters when we come into this story. And so it almost feels like there's moments where there's like a little bit of emotional fatigue in him. But then also when he meets someone who believes the things that he's saying, we also get to see him light up. And so how did you set about finding the moments where you felt like he was going to have this real energy and liveliness to him, and where you felt like he was just being beaten down by things around him a lot?
The phenomenal writing informed me all of that. We got presented with some great words to play, and then being opposite Jackson Kelly, we call him Action Jackson. He's a phenomenal talent in his own right, and he made it very simple or very easy just to listen and respond. Like we've been saying all day, it was like playing high-level tennis, with some great tennis players, and fortunate enough to be paired up with all this cast to deliver what we delivered.
Yeah. And Chaske, going back to what you were talking about, where your character is much more internal, I feel like that's also how he processes a lot of conflict. He finds out that he has been betrayed by some people around him, and the way that he processes that is to go very inward. And I was, kind of going back to what you were talking about before, of really just finding how much to give and how much to pull back with that storyline. How did you figure that out for him?
It was like I said. It's kind of hard to keep still on screen, but you have to trust the camera, because the camera can pick. The one thing when I learned right off the bat when I went from stage to film was that you don't have to do much with the camera. You really don't, and you have to trust the camera. And luckily for me, I've had a few roles where I could play that type of character, so I was able to have that trust. But again, it's Ian and the directors that are helping me, because I can show up on the day and try to do what they want, but still, I still need some guidance and help with a character like this. And the internal stuff was just, you got to have the trust in the audience too. You really have to trust the audience. And I always said, the audience isn't stupid. Do not shortcut the audience. They're smart as hell. And you just have to do, for me, I just have to try to do a good job with Ruben, and hopefully the audience will take that, like you said.
Yeah. Rob, I saw you nodding when Chaske was talking about that relationship with the camera and just trusting it. And so I wanted to ask about, in shooting this series, the ways that you found that with your performance as well.
Man, I was just actually thinking of the phenomenal cinematographers he was referring to, Matt and Ross.
Yeah.
We just had some phenomenal cinematographers that made the space feel like you wasn't acting. You know what I mean? And that was a testament to the crew, production, creating this environment that we literally can live these high stakes to the realest of our imagination and the realest of our experience through these characters, and put a real human journey on screen. And yeah, I would say the cinematographers was definitely a big part of that, Definitely.
Did it also help for both of you that it seems like a lot of the effects were very practical throughout the shoot as well? I had the chance to see some screeners where some of the VFX was still being added, and it was actually amazing to see how many details are taking place within the scene for you all.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't act opposite any green screen stuff. I didn't have the experience of the tennis ball, I ain't do it. Was like, look, this is what we looking at. Look at it. That's it. Action, and it was so real for us, that for me, that I just had to play what I was really going through at the moment. And that's what you see on screen.
Very little on my part. I mean, there's the tree and all that, but wasn't a green screen. And like I said, I think I like that there's not that many special effects in this that are going to take away from the story and the characters, because this is a character-driven series. And I like that they're not being too flashy about it.
And I think that was part of the design of Teacup, to stay away from the big set piece stuff and go really into the human shit. You know, the real human journey, the human story that people can really relate to. Because, you know, you see a car blowing up, if it ain't your car, you ain't gonna give a damn. You know what I mean? When you see a real human go through something, you're like, oh God, Ruben, she did that to you, Ruben. Come home, Ruben, come home. You know, so I think that's what they chose to do with this series, is go for more human story instead of ba boom bang bing, you know?
Yeah. And within that, Chaske, you know, your character has a lot of conflict with Scott Speedman's character. They've kind of been friends and enemies. And, you know, there's a point where your character is talking about, there's a lot of things that I haven't liked about the way that you move, but I've kept it to myself. And, you know, you kind of see how much has been bubbling beneath the surface for a long time with them. What were some of the ways in which you really wanted to play that? Because again, it all goes back to the fact that he doesn't always bring these things up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's your scene partner, you know, working with Scott. He's a phenomenal actor, and it's nice when you can throw a ball back and they throw it back to you, you know, and different creative ways. And the tension, that I think that's just created through the editing and the directing. Working with Scott, I really loved working with Scott. I found very grateful to work with him. Plus, he has a knowledge of film and TV, and so working with the scene, he sees things that I don't see, and so that was an eye-opening thing for me, and keep an open mind to learn.
Yeah, it's great. And Rob, your character meets another character called Travis, and Travis is the one that really listens to everything that he's telling him. And, you know, your character kind of becomes a bit of a mentor to him and teaching him all these things that he already knows about. And so for you, what was the difference that you wanted to see in the character, and having someone pay attention and not just thinking of him as the guy sitting at the end of the bar telling tall tales that make no sense?
Oh man, it was like a crack of hope, you know, that I'm actually getting somewhere. Somebody actually is picking up on what I'm putting down. You know, it's not in vain. My desire is to keep people from going through the same horrific experience I went through. So when I get that inkling of paying attention to me, it was something to latch on to. And I think it was written in a way that it just spoke loudly to me when we were actually doing it, and I think you'll see that on screen.
Yeah. And there's also a backstory with him as well, in terms of there's been a moment for him where he really wanted to be able to try and protect his daughter in a lot of ways that he wasn't able to. And how foundational is a detail like that to your character and building your performance around it?
I kind of put that at the forefront of my actions. I put that at the forefront of what was motivating me. So for my research, I talked to some men who lost children, talked to some men who had very close situations of not knowing what was going to happen with their children. And with my own creativity and imagination, I coupled that with my acting training and experiences and tried to deliver the best honest McNabb I possibly could, with the help of the directors that was directing us.
Right. And I think in a similar space, Chaske, with your character, we see him in real time trying to create that protectiveness for his family around himself. And, you know, I loved that there was one moment where we see him with his son and kind of like not showing all of his emotions, but then when he turns around, it kind of flickers through him for a minute.
Yeah.
And so how did you want to explore that space of, I want to protect you in all the ways that I can, but I also know there's so much out of my control right now?
You know, it's just, that's a good question. How do I convey that? Pulling from past experiences, pulling from my life, you know? What I love about acting is that, you know, I guess I'm a method actor, but I always get, like, method has been kind of like skewed throughout the years, you know? For me, method is just working on sense memory and pulling things from my past. You know, I don't have to be in character 24/7 or anything like that. But I use props. I use music. When I'm working, I'm very much an open nerve, especially with a character. Like halfway through it, I had to like be an open nerve because it was going through some heavy stuff, and to able to maintain that energy and to keep that authenticity, it was quite difficult. So I'd go off on myself a little bit. I had little props and stuff to use. I had music I could put in my ears, and just giving enough space. When I talked to Ian and Evan, I told them to do a character like, I need space. I need space because I'm not like this guy, and I don't know what's going to happen when I start going into this character. So acting's just a very weird job. It really is. But I have to say, at the end result of when you do a job like this, you get to bond with other creative people, actors, directors, everyone, and show support for the other teammates.
I love those details. Rob, are there things that are in your process that are similar to what Chaske was describing, or do you have kind of a different approach to it?
Oh man, getting the material, reading it constantly over and over and over again to pick up the vibe of the world, learning your lines without putting stuff behind it, just learning them flat as they are written. And then, man, once you get it in your body, what I like to do is I like learning my lines doing activity. So, I like working out, going over my monologues while I'm working out, getting it completely in my body, get comfortable enough with it that I know it off the back of my hand. So when they say action, all I'm doing is like just living it. You know what I mean? I'm that much rooted in my preparation that when it comes time to do it, I can just do it flawlessly. Like, I love when I could do a 4-page monologue straight without stopping and saying line. I love, being that prepared, and that's what we did, And
to add what Rob said is that, God's in the details. It's the learning the lines. It's the work that people don't see that you applied when you put on screen.
Right. It's the preparation so you can leave it behind once you're on set.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Go in there and just play. Because what we do is it's called play. The theater is about play. It's called you go to see a play. You don't go see somebody cut their wrist. You know what I mean? They may be playing, acting like they're cutting their wrist, but it's a play.
Yeah.
So essentially as actors, what we do is we show up to play.
Yeah.
So once we get the preparation so much in ourselves that we're comfortable with it, all we have to do is go and play. It's like playing a high-level game of tennis. Just listen and respond, and everything should just flow,
And when you get it so prepared, and I'm sure I know Rob's probably experienced this, there's a point in life, and it happens, I'd say it happened a couple times with me. It's not an everyday thing, but there's a point when I'm doing a scene, and I'm so prepared, I forget about it.
Yeah.
And I'm there.
Yeah.
And it happens like not all the time, but once in a great while, I'll get it. And I'm like, this is why we're in. Yeah.
Yeah, and they be like, I don't even know what I did.
Exactly like what I do.
I don't know what I did. I was just in it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, lastly, I also wanted to ask you both, I feel like this show has such a specific tone and voice to it, and you really sense it from just the opening scenes of the show. You know exactly the type of world that you're stepping into. And I was just curious about your experience of really finding that in your performances based on the experience you had when you first read those first few pages and just really seeing it in the writing.
When you're reading the pages, you're in your air-conditioned home, you got your tea, you got your little muffin, you might be even in bed, looking at the script, digesting it. When you get on set and it's 110 degrees out there with a mosquito this big flying around your ear, and you got layers of costume clothes on, totally shifts, you know what I mean? And then you actually play those elements. Those elements inform your character. Those elements inform your mood. And so, that's the beauty of what we do.
And add on to what Rob said, I remember an acting teacher said once, you come in prepared, but you also got to come in to honor what's going on in the moment of today. Whether you're on a movie set, you got to have to be open to that as well. Yeah, acting's tricky. It can be very tricky sometimes.
Yeah. And you have to be like amiable, you know what I mean? You can't just come in there and just say, this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm saying it. Because you get up there and the director be like, I want it like that.
Yeah.
Give it to me like this. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to be,
like water.
Fluid
like water. Yeah.
Fluid with it.
It's also one more thing is that, it's just been my experience that when I read a script, it's never what I thought was when we get to the set. Like, there's a scene where I think James and Reuben were supposed to be walking with you just walking and holding their horses,
Mm-hmm.
but then we're on top of horses the day. So it switches all the time.
All
So
the time.
what I've learned to do is make sure I got my lines down, make sure I kind of know what's going on in the scene with all the other stuff. But when I get there, I'm just open to whatever because it changes all the time.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm
so
kinda
wonderful.
I'd rather keep it cool and comfortable for everybody on set. I'm not gonna be, but no, I want to do it like that.
No.
No, I want to say it like that. I'd be like, well, if that's how you want it, let's go. You know what I mean? Because I trust they have the vision. They have in their minds what we're trying to accomplish, and it's oftentimes bigger than what I can see.
Yeah.
So I don't push back and all, and I'd be like, I love to do that, but if you don't want it, I'm gonna give you what you want. Let's go.
These are such great details, and I love listening to how you approached working on this series. So really appreciate it. Thank you so much to both of you.